In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at our spring outlook for 2024, going over the months of March, April, and May collectively as far as the temperatures, precipitation, and we will be talking about the severe weather today as well. Let's dive into it, and the troubling thing here is it's been difficult to find a model that has a good grasp of the pattern, in my opinion. Over the past few weeks, I've been using that data of what we've been in, what we expect for the next 10 to 15 days, using that as a piece to the puzzle, and also historical data, trying to uncover what these models are thinking has really differed from what history would tell us and what the past few weeks have told us. So we're going to try to just break it down and dissect it together. This is a difficult one, honestly. I've been doing this for years, and this is one of the more difficult examples to try to come up with something from the models, which is usually what I have to show you guys. But let's just go over what we do have, and we're taking a look here at the European extended model, and we do see a trough in the west, ridge in the east pattern expected over the next 7 days at least. So warmth overall for these areas, cooler temperatures overall for the west. And what this won't show you is that we have tons of snowfall, tons of storms moving into this area as well, which is a big part of what they've been dealing with out there in the northwest for weeks now. I don't expect that to end anytime soon. This model really reverts the warmth back to the north here, encompassing a lot of the north central and northeastern states. I think that it's still going to be centered more over the east and also for the southeast here. I do agree, though, that this trough will persist in the west, and we will continue to see storms bombarding this area for weeks and potentially months to come. Over time, what I disagree with heavily on what this model is predicting, and models tend to do this in the long range over the past year or two, is it wants to show a trough developing in the west, which I just don't agree with. We've seen these models show this in the long range time and time again, but as you guys know firsthand, they trend away with it as it gets sooner and sooner and sooner to happening. So I don't expect there to be any validation to this. I don't expect this to verify at all. I do agree that this trough will continue in the west, but as you guys know, if you've learned anything from these videos, is that, it's very hard for there to be this trough in the west and a trough develop in the east at the same time. It's likely that warmth will be on one half of the country, and I do expect that to be the east here. So I expect this to actually stay in a pattern like this for much longer than what this model is predicting. You can see that it actually does kind of revert back as we reach the early to midpoint of April here. Trough in the west maintained through the model run, but we see the warmth starting to trend back in here for the east. Not nearly as much as I think it will. I think there will be cool downs, but I think a majority warmth is what we can expect over the next few months. So I disagree in the eastern ranges, but I think that the west, it has a good grip of that trough just maintaining. I don't expect that to change. Now, this is a good frame as well on the European ensemble model of the upcoming pattern. This one in particular is for March 4th through March 9th, and I expect this to be a lot of what we see over the next few months. This surging warmth in the central and eastern states with overall cooler temperatures in the west, really sustaining itself, and the jet stream will trough underneath and ridge up above like this. Now, what I do expect is that probably once or twice a week, we will see cold fronts moving their way eastward. They'll look something like this, be kind of just spreading this way, and we will see a cooler 1 or 2 days from that with the warmth returning behind it and really rebounding quickly. So I do think that this cold air is going to send shots eastward. I don't think it's going to be extremely long-lived at all, though. I don't think it's going to be enough to sway us in the below average temperature direction as this model has kind of hinted at. Let's just dive into the precipitation. I do think that there's a lot more to work with here. We see the above average precipitation out west, which I do expect, so we're going to give a check mark there. And I do expect the above average precipitation here for the southeast extending up the mid-Atlantic coast as well. I think that we'll have this area of below average precipitation a little bit further northward, but I do think it's onto the right idea here. Now, as we just move ahead with this one we will be able to move ahead. You see it keeps that above average precipitation in the east. We're looking at mid-March, now already early April here, and you can see we keep these coastal storms and cold fronts coming through the east coast. I do expect this to be a common occurrence. I don't think we're going to see the precipitation slow down this quickly out west. So I do have to disagree a little bit. This one really shuts off that precipitation. I think we're going to see it keep going. Again, my handwritten forecast will be at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. We see that at the end here, we're going to reach all the way into March or April 15th, better yet. So we don't even get all the way through our forecast period here, but we do have above average precipitation still trending in for these areas. Now, as we move into the more long-range outlook, we're going to take it month by month. Let's start out with March here, and for the outlook for March, we see above average precipitation out west, which I give a big old check mark. I think that's right on the money. Also, the eastern seaboard, I give a check mark here. I think we're also going to see above average precipitation for these areas. The only difference in my thoughts is that I think we will also have above average precipitation here in the southern plains. Actually, better yet, I did a check mark. We're going to do an X there, check mark here, check mark there. I think that we'll see drier conditions in the north central states, so we'll give an X there. I think the handle on the central states is a little off, probably flipped upside down versus what I would think, but the two coasts, I like this a lot. Now, as we move towards April, we see the continued above average precipitation in the east, which I give a check mark, and also for the west, some above average precipitation still in. But the north central states, I still think this area is going to be overall drier. And as we reach into May, again, same thing. I know I'm getting repetitive here, but check mark in the west, check mark in the east, but really not picking up on the dry conditions that I expect across the north central states. Now, let's go ahead and dive into my hand-drawn forecasts. Now, here it is. We're going to start out with the precipitation, and kind of like what I've hinted at, we expect, hinted is I think an understatement, but above average precipitation along the east coast, extending back through the central plains, and even up into the western states. So expect a kind of above average precipitation horseshoe elongated along the two coasts and the southern regions of the United States, with below average precipitation across the north central. That is overall, in just a brief sentence, kind of along the lines of what I'm expecting here. So definitely that is generally what I'm expecting, that kind of horseshoe pattern with the below average precipitation across the north central states. As we move into the temperature outlook here for the springtime, again, March through May timeframe, I do expect below average precipitation for a lot of the west, but especially the north central or the northwestern states into the north central states. The lighter blue is going to be where I'm fairly confident in below average temperatures, but that darker shade is definitely where I have more confidence in the below average temperatures. For states like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, northern Nevada, northern Utah, northern Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota there. That is the area that I'm expecting below average temperatures overall. Now, as we work our way through the southwest, we do expect a little bit of warmth perhaps in this area. Not too confident in that, but there is some signs that that is going to be the case. What I am more confident in is this kind of east coast ridge, and it's going to go as far back, I would say, as the Ohio Valley and these deeper south areas. So for this entire area here, we're very confident in above average temperatures. Again, I think that we're going to see overall warmer temperatures, but there will be cold fronts happening very frequently, where we're going to see this cold air that is out west extending eastward over the course of the entire springtime. We're going to see that quite frequently, and that is going to have severe weather implications. When we have warmer, more humid temperatures in place for the east, with the cold fronts bringing the colder, drier air through that area, you can expect a lot of instability along that boundary between the cold and dry and between the warmth and the humidity. When those two clash, you can expect a lot of instability and therefore thunderstorm development and therefore severe weather possibilities in there as well. So that is in a gist what we're expecting for the spring of 2024. Again, March 1st through the end of May. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.